Well, Andrew, it all started last Friday night when the Knicks continued what has been one of their hottest streaks in recent franchise history, beating the Heat in Miami 122 to 120. The game came down to the final shot. Julius Randle, who scored 43 in the game, almost lost the ball, but recovered and hit a three while falling sideways out of bounds with only zero point 0.7 seconds remaining on the clock. It was the Knicks' eighth straight win, and they would make it 9 after beating the Celtics in Boston in double overtime just 2 days later. Now, the streak eventually did end at 9, but that was the eighth longest winning streak in New York Knicks franchise history. The run has helped New York escape the play-in for the time being, sitting in fifth and 3.5 games up on the seventh seeded Heat. Also on Friday, some stuff happened in Memphis, which we will get to later. On Saturday, it was the Sixers' best win of the season. The Sixers traveled to Milwaukee to face a Bucks team that had won 16 games in a row. Despite being down 18 with 3 minutes left in the third quarter, Philly had cut it to 1 by the 9-minute mark of the fourth. Down the stretch, it was a lot of James Harden, who finished the game with a stat line of 38, 9, and 10. But the biggest shot of the game was from Joel Embiid, who hit a go-ahead three from the top of the key with 42 seconds left. Now, after a couple frustrating losses for the Sixers last week, they have now won 3 in a row and 9 of their last 12. They remain solidly in third in the East, 2.5 games ahead of the Cavs in fourth. On Sunday, Andrew, we got a marquee matchup between the Suns and Mavs in Dallas. KD and Devin Booker combined for 73 of the Suns' 130 points en route to a 4-point win over the Mavs. KD was brilliant in the game, scoring his 37 points on only 17 shots, which included the go-ahead shot with 12 seconds left, a classic KD mid-range jumper over the defense. For the Mavericks, they continue to look for consistency, especially on the defensive end, as they fall to only 3-7 in their last 10 games. That stretch has dropped them to 34-33, 8th in the West, and a game and a half up on the Lakers. The Mavs now enter a stretch with 9 of their next 12 games on the road, and possibly without Luka for a few after he injured his thigh later in the week. Yikes. On Monday, the Boston Celtics continued their late season trend of losing incredibly close games.
So painful.
So painful. After losing to the Knicks in double overtime on Sunday, which I mentioned, they lost in overtime to the Cavs on the second night of a back-to-back. 4 of Boston's last 10 games have gone to overtime, and one of the games that didn't in that stretch was the game against Philly when Embiid's final heave to tie it up was a split second late. In this game, the Celtics had a chance to end it in regulation when Grant Williams stepped to the line with the game tied at 109 and 0.8 seconds left. Cameras caught Donovan Mitchell and Williams jawing at each other, and you could see Williams say to Mitchell, "I'm going to make both." Hopefully he wasn't referring to the free throws he was about to shoot, because he missed both, which allowed Donovan Mitchell, who scored 40 in the game, to get the win in overtime. On Tuesday, the Lakers got a much-needed win without LeBron, beating the Grizzlies at home 112 to 103. Things were looking a little bleak for the Lakers when it was announced LeBron would miss at least the next 3 weeks after injuring his foot in a game against the Mavs. But in the 5 games since, the Lakers have gone a respectable 3-2, led by Anthony Davis, who is averaging 34 points and 13.5 rebounds per game since LeBron's injury. While 3-2 might not sound that exciting, it's been enough to get the Lakers up to the 9th spot in the West with 16 games remaining. And those 16 games, it's a pretty favorable schedule the rest of the way. 9 of those 16 are at home, and 2 of the 7 road games are in Houston. On Wednesday, it was Kevin Durant's home debut for the Phoenix Suns. While the game ended in a 31-point blowout win for the Suns over the Thunder, it was not because of KD. Unfortunately, Durant slipped and twisted his ankle during the pregame warmup. He was ruled out of the game and will be ruled out for several more, as he is not expected to be reevaluated for 2 weeks. The Suns continue their climb up the standings, however, having won 4 in a row, but this next stretch without KD could be a bit challenging. Next 3 games are against the Kings, the Warriors on the road, and the Milwaukee Bucks. Yikes. And finally, on Thursday, we got another classic Kings home game, this time against the previously streaking Knicks. The Kings are completely unable to play boring basketball games, and this was no different. It came down to the final minute with no play bigger than a De'Aaron Fox driving layup where he blew by Josh Hart and met Isaiah Hartenstein at the rim, giving the Kings a 4-point lead with 26 seconds to go. Fox finished with 23 and 7, while Domantas Sabonis posted a 24-point triple-double. The Kings have won 10 of 13 and are now the number 2 seed in the West. What a week it was, Andrew.